Welcome to the SWBL podcast. My name is Brian Benway, your host, and tonight I am joined by Eli Erikson, captain of the SWBL Marlins. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you doing?
Good, good. And right before we hopped on, you were talking about moving back, and so sort of in the transition phase, but I think sounds excited to be back home, and we're, as a league, we're going to be excited to have you around more. So
Absolutely. I'm glad Sam Rennick was able to go to one of the off-season things, and looking forward to going to those myself in years to come.
yeah, absolutely. And getting another voice in the meeting and stuff like that will always be good for the league. So well, tonight's podcast is brought to you by 1356 Public House, our presenting sponsor for season 20. And tonight we're going to be breaking down the roster, looking a little bit back at season 19 and then forward towards season 20. We're also going to be looking at the schedule, the division, pretty much similar to all the other captain interviews you might have heard at this point. But we're gonna have some fun, talk a little bit about the Marlins and their future and what's to come. All right.
Sounds great.
All right. Well, let's get into the roster here and specifically season 19. I guess let's start there first. You guys went 3-7. You had wins against the Expos, the Brewers, and the Yankees. So, coming off of an 0-10 season the year before, and then winning those three, it's like in the history of the league, that's a pretty good jump. So how was your team feeling after, the season last year? Was it excitement that you have something to build on, or, what are the thoughts kind of in the off season here?
Yeah, we feel good. I mean, it really sucked going 0-10, obviously, especially with a few of those losses being really close to some good teams. And going 3-7, we were super happy with that. Just, get a couple W's, and, obviously, one against the Brewers are no longer franchise, and one against the Expos, which, was also just 3-7, but getting a win against the Yankees, who had a really great year, obviously, felt good. And then again, just a few close losses that just didn't go our way. I think the biggest thing for us is just more experience. I mean, you see people throughout the league who get better every single year. And we're not even looking for that same sort of increase this year. Just, a little increase from every player. And, we're a 500 team, and, a couple things go our way and we get 7 wins, or maybe they don't. And, we're just win 3 or 4 games again. But that's what we're kind of excited about, is just another year to get better, more experience. Because other than Luke, and Jordan, a new signee, we really only have a couple years in us. So definitely just looking forward to just taking another step in the right direction.
Yeah. And I think that's the right approach. I mean, the Astros were a fairly new team a couple years back, and we've had our history, but I always felt like having stepping stones, right? You go 0-10, now you go 3-7, like now setting a goal, and not necessarily setting it beyond like a reasonable expectation, but saying like, let's go 500 this year, or whatever the case may be, or let's get a wild card spot, which 5-5 could get you a wild card spot. Just having those building blocks as your guys get more experience, I think is the positive and the right mentality for sure. You had mentioned Jordan Smith, and we'll kind of dive into the roster for this season. But you have yourself obviously, and Luke Bacula, who you had mentioned as well, Sam Rudnick, Josh Anthony, Trent Davis, Corey Poley, all returning, and then you added Jordan Smith. Little bit of he's got a lot of wiffle ball experience. So just talk to me a little bit about the team makeup, our roles now that you've had 2 years under your belt, sort of getting established. And then the signing of Jordan, why you pulled the trigger on bringing a guy like Jordan in, who played in the league last year as a rookie, and has played in the summer league, and has, like I said, has wiffle ball experience with Mo-Whiff as well. So just talk to me about the decision to bring him in, and what kind of role you're expecting out of him as well.
Yeah, so I'll start with Jordan. We're expecting him to play very well. Obviously, adding him is 7 players. So we have a deep team, and, we can't have everyone play every game, right? But, look at the stats. I mean, he's a great hitter. He has some national experience. He can field as well as anybody, and he's going to provide valuable at bats this year. We're really looking forward to that. For the team as a whole, look, Luke's our guy. He's going to play every inning in the field. He's going to bat first or second in the order every game. Like, we ride and die with how he plays. Last year he ended up hitting really well, almost 500. And if you had split the year in half, I mean, he might have been hitting 200 the first 3, 4, 5 games, and you couldn't get him out the second half of the year. So, if he starts off like that, I mean, he's an MVP candidate. So, having him play really well is going to help us a lot. I think one of the more underrated players in the league is Sam Runnick. He's more of a quiet guy, but he's hit 400 both seasons. Not a power guy, so he's not flashy. He's just getting singles and doubles and getting on base, which he's been batting leadoff. So that's all we need for someone like Luke coming up in the plate. Then jump to our pitchers. It's going to be Josh and Trent. Again, Josh, another really quiet guy who I think so underrated. For guys who pitched more than 10 innings last year, he's 5th in ERA. He's not a strikeout guy, and we don't have any. Luke's a good fielder, but we don't have one of the top fielders like a Chris Metter on our team looking good. So, there's nothing fancy about when Josh is on the mound. But between him and Trent, we're looking for them to just take a little bit step up, and we're going to have 2 really good pitchers. And then, I already touched on Jordan, then it's Corey and I. For the most part, I'll be doing quite a bit of hitting, and Corey will be fielding a lot. We all kind of at this point have clearly defined roles, but we are all so new. We have 1 game Friday and 3 games Saturday. Just because I go into it thinking these are our 4 hitters and, these are our primary pitchers and these are our fielders, if a guy's got a hot bat, he's going to play more. And if a guy's just struggling, who I thought should be hitting better, he's not going to play as much. And we all are on the same page of that. So that's kind of the good thing about all of us being, such close friends for so long, that look, everyone knows what they think they can do really well right now, but I'm not beholden to my opinion in, the end of March. Like, whatever happens that weekend, good guys are going to play, and the guys struggling aren't.
Yeah, it's a great plan. You had mentioned the fact that you have 7 on the team. That is, there are 4 teams that have 7 players on their roster, and that is one of the bigger rosters we've seen in the league before. So it does add a lot of depth. And, you had mentioned, obviously you kind of walked us through your plan, both lineup and in the field, but, you do have depth too. Like, the fact that you have 7 guys gives you other possibilities if somebody does come out cold, or if one of your pitchers does struggle and maybe just can't find it or something. Luke has pitched in the league before, so you have that experience you can rely back on. I know you said that he's not a Chris Metter or a Brian Kenny, but I've seen him make some incredible plays, even fielding as a pitcher. So the athleticism is there. You get the benefit of being one of the younger teams in the league as well. So a little bit longevity of athleticism is going to be there. Not to say that everybody in the league is old by any means, but at the same time, as this league continues to go on and we get, into more seasons, those things are going to, deteriorate, we assume. So, and you guys will be able to rely on that athleticism longer than other people will be. So, I was going to ask.
Look,
yeah, go
I
ahead.
mean, I think all of us, if you ask us, would only want 4 guys on the team, right? So we're hitting every game, and not that you can't hit more than 4, but you can hit every game, you can field, you can pitch, but at the same time, we all really want to win. So, if those 3 to the first 4 games, I go hitless, I'm done hitting. Like, that's okay. Like, I'm going to be there. Maybe I can get more in the field, and it's fine. Everyone kind of has that same attitude, which I think is really important going into the season.
Absolutely. And it makes your job as a captain easier, right? You're not, if everybody has a defined role and everybody is willing to put the team first and not necessarily their playing time, then, and everybody's on the same page going into it, it makes that, it can take that pressure off. Like, you're still going to want to get the guys playing time, but you're not beholden, like, I have to get this guy in, otherwise he's going to throw a fit. And, we're going to have an attitude problem with our team. You're going to be able to make the decisions that are best for the team, and everybody's going to back you up on that, whatever that may be, even if it means that they're sitting. And that's a great way to approach it, especially with a roster as big as yours. So it's good to hear that for sure. So I was going to talk to you about, you had mentioned trying to roll with a 4-man lineup. So walk me through, you had kind of mentioned a few people, but walk me through right now, the initial plan to start with your lineup. And then will you pick and choose, maybe times to hit 5 in a game, like actually go ahead and go with a 5-man lineup, or are you going to stick to 4 and then just rotate guys in?
Yeah, I mean, going into it, my plan is to hit 4. If we start 0-5 or 5-0, I'll change it up to get more at bats. But we really think we're going to be right there fighting for that last playoff spot, and think we're going to be in some really important games, and people are just going to have to deal with only 4 batting. So I think our go-to lineup would be Sam Rudnick leading off, followed by Luke number 2. And then either me or whoever's pitching, Josh or Trent. I think that's probably what it will be like, just based on what I see. I know Jordan can really hit, so I expect him to hit quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I think those would be our 4. But I'm not going to hit every game. So when I'm not hitting, it'll be Jordan or Corey, and again, Luke will probably hit every game, and I'll probably bat the pitcher every game. But it'll kind of be a rotation in those 2 spots between Sam and I, rotating with Corey and Jordan, just depending on the matchup and the game, and who's all there and things like that.
Yeah. No, it's a solid plan for sure. And then being able to be flexible on the fly too, will be beneficial for you for sure. So, when I was looking over your roster, you didn't draft any rookies, in your 3rd year. And I don't know, is this the first year you're not drafting somebody, or is that not the case? Did you not draft anybody last year?
We drafted Corey last year. Yeah, he had a medical procedure, so he wasn't able to play in the Labor Day tournament. So yeah.
Okay, and then none of your guys came in the top 20. And you could say Luke was on the cusp of it, or potentially could be voted in there if things had gone differently. So without rookies, kind of the same core, what makes this year's team better than last year's team?
I really think it's experience. Look, we're not going to win any preseason awards. I really believe that the delayed for a first season for us in Labor Day is fresh on people's mind. I think they were 0-10 18 months ago. Mm-hmm. And for good reason, right? We mostly have the same roster now as we do then. But everyone got a lot better last year, just 6 months later. And if we can just get a little bit more better this year, a couple things go our way. I think we're going to talk about divisions later, but we could have been in a worse division. I think we got a solid draw. I mean, obviously, we got the Twins, but pretty solid overall. And we just need a little bit better. I mean, really, we're close. I see a couple teams who were, around 500 last year, probably, 1 or 2 things not go their way, and a thing or 2 goes our way, and we're right there. So experience is the biggest thing for us. And I was surprised to see Luke not in the top 20, especially still looking at his stats after a bad start. I mean, but if he plays all season this year like he did the second half of last year, he's going to be a top 10 guy at the worst. So we have plenty of confidence in him there.
Yeah, sounds like it. I mean, that would be a big jump to go from unranked to top 10. But, we've seen Luke in the past, and he definitely has the ceiling for it, for sure. And he's also got a great personality. I love hanging out and being around Luke. So he always brings a lot of joy. But yeah, let's jump into the division since you brought it up. You are in the Kettering Eye Center division, and you had mentioned the teams, the Twins, the Rockies, and yourselves. So you had said, the draw could have been worse. I think getting the defending champs is pretty tough. And then getting a perennial playoff team, a team that's never missed the playoffs, is pretty tough. Now, while they have a bit of a new look with some new players on their team than they've had in the past, if I were looking at it, that looks like a tough draw. But you seem pretty optimistic about the division, and the potential outlook. So what makes you so optimistic about the division?
Yeah, I mean, getting the Twins sucked. Like they're defending champions, like they're great.
Yeah.
Obviously, I would have no disrespect preferred the Yankees or Astros absolutely over them. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna pretend that. But I'm looking at the Astros right as the number one seed in the division, and they got the Orioles as their number three team.
Mhm.
And they got to be. I mean, I understand they're a new team, but I think everyone would agree they're pretty stacked. So I guess I just look at some of the teams ranked higher and see the draw they got. And Rockies are always right in the thick of it. But all the seeds are right.
Yeah.
Athletics, Rockies. I know the White Sox are new, but that's what the two seeds are. They're kind of right around 500.
Mhm.
Maybe 4 wins, maybe as good as 6 or 7. But that's what we're looking to be. And that's just the expectation that we have for us and the way we got to look at it going into this year.
Yeah. Well, it's the right attitude to have, to find some positivity. I was the Astros were three, like in the bottom tier for years, and it was always looking up, and it's different for us this year. But I would think a lot of times those bottom three teams, they always feel a little bit underappreciated, or maybe that's not the right word, but it always feels like you're looking up at something, and everybody's writing you off before the season starts. And to come in with a positive attitude like that about the division that you got, that I think if you talk to a lot of people would say they don't want to be in the Marlins position of any team. And to have that optimism is really a good thing going into that season. So we looked at the schedule. We did a schedule podcast a couple weeks ago, and one thing that we did notice that was surprising, but you have 3 games on Monday, and you're the only team with 3 games on Monday. And my assumption is that was a bit of a scheduling thing. But at the same time, I think, like you said, if Luke and if your team gets on a roll and you win those 3 games, like that could propel you straight into the playoffs and potentially a playoff push. So what was your thoughts about, Monday, but also just about the schedule overall?
I think it's great. I almost no matter what, we're gonna wake up Monday morning with a chance. Unless it's a pretty disaster 1-6, 1-7 start. I mean, we're gonna be right there. And being able to be right there and potentially get hot that morning is great. I was there this year on Monday morning. It's a rough place to be. It's a couple days straight now with a lot of guys drinking and pretty hungover. And we're a younger team. We bounce back pretty good. I think we'll wake up a little bit less sore and hungover than some other teams. So if we're going into that day 3-4, we're excited. We can go 2-1, 3-0, and we're right there in it. So I think that's great, as opposed to some teams who wrap it up by midday Sunday with a 1-game Monday. I mean, they'll enjoy their Sunday evening and night, but their fate's decided pretty early. They're going to sit around all day Sunday and all morning on Monday, and then play a playoff game after not playing almost 1 game for 24 hours. So I'm happy with that. It was because of a scheduling conflict, and we'll be ready to roll.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing we noticed obviously is the so-called toilet bowl game, the last game of the season between the bottom 2 teams from the year before. So you and the Expos, based on record. And I just had Kevin on, and we did his podcast, and we were talking about their championship run season and how that game maybe is underappreciated. Obviously it's set to that time so that everybody can see it and watch it, and it'll be entertaining and potentially change some seating for the next year. But the other thing it can do is that it can propel you into that playoff. That could be the final game that propels you into a playoff berth. And on top of that, could knock somebody else out of the playoffs. So there's a lot of things that could potentially ride on that game. And I guess my question is, do you have a game circled? Is that a game that you would have circled, or is there a different game on your schedule that you guys are saying, this is the one that we have got to show up and is going to be really important for the success of our season?
Yeah, I mean, I think that game is definitely one we should look out for, right? Everyone's going to be there most likely, right? Getting ready for the playoffs, and everyone has a game on Monday, I believe, or they normally do. So everyone's going to be there and watching us. I think odds are one of us two aren't going to be very good. So let's look at this optimistically, and we're fighting for a playoff berth, and they're struggling. That game could put us in, and everyone's there to watch. So that game definitely can matter. We have two former A's on our team now, in Luke and Jordan. So I think it'd be great to beat them, right?
Yeah.
I think Luke and Jordan would really look forward to that. Obviously, Luke left to help me create this Marlins team, and Jordan had just signed a 1-year deal. So no hard feelings or anything, but I think it'd be really important to beat them and just beating one of the good teams. We're not circling any games, but the Yankees and the Orioles, though new, have a lot of great players, and the Twins. Like, we really want to beat some of these teams.
Mhm.
But I think those couple games might stick out a little bit more to us than others.
Yeah. I love that you brought up the A's, because I haven't even thought about it, but the fact that you have some of these connections, with Luke coming from the A's and then Jordan. And while, yeah, Jordan was only there for a year, Jordan and Josh Rogers are good buddies, and they're now facing off on each other. And maybe there's a chip on Jordan's shoulder too, the fact that the A's decided they wanted to bring Josh back and not him. So there's a little bit of a storyline there. And personally, I'd love it if that was a rivalry in the making between the two teams. It would be fun to watch, and I think there'd be a lot of good battles between the two teams.
Yeah, no, and it's hard to have a big rivalry when one of the players is Paul Castellano. I mean, he's
Yeah,
just such a nice guy. It's hard to
yeah,
get a little fire burning in him. But yeah, no, it's definitely something that I've personally thought about. I don't know if Jordan and Luke have. It's not something I've talked to them about, but I'm gonna definitely make sure they're both in the lineup, both in the field, ready for that game for sure.
yeah. Well, if they're not talking about it, let's get them talking about it. Let's get this rivalry going now, because it
Absolutely.
sounds great. So the power rankings for the three facets of our game, the hitting, pitching, and fielding, just came out. Grades haven't quite come out. They're being posted with each podcast episode, but your grades came out, and then eventually the overall power rankings are going to come out. So my question was, where do you think you'll be ranked, the Marlins as a team? And then where do you feel you should be ranked?
Well, I think we're going to be ranked ninth. I'm shocked. I'll be surprised if we're ninth. To be totally honest, I think we should firmly be ahead of the Expos. And no disrespect to them, but they're losing their pretty obvious best player. And I understand they still have a former Cy Wiffle, but they don't have any proven batters. And smart move by them. They drafted Jack Light. That'll pay dividends in the future for sure.
Mhm.
But in his first year, I don't know if that'll necessarily translate to a lot of extra wins.
Yeah.
So I think we'll be preseason 9. I think we, just based on our track record, should be ranked 8th. But I firmly believe we should be firmly in that 5, 6, 7 spot come the end of this year. Like, I really think we're going into Monday, we'll be fighting for that 5th spot.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm just going to add to this. So let's say you said 5, 6, 7. So then give me your rankings. So put yourselves where you think, but go from the bottom and go up, and then where would you fall?
I'll go top to bottom. I
Okay.
think that'll be easier for me. Like, we have to be number. I don't. I think the Orioles are too. I don't care that they're all getting put together. This isn't football or basketball. I mean, it's wiffle ball. You're kind of on an island in the field, and you got to hit well. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't think chemistry matters much.
Okay. Hold on one second. Because you kind of broke up there. So did you say Twins first?
Oh yeah, sorry about that. Twins first,
Okay. Twins, Orioles.
and then number 3 out of the Yankees.
Okay.
Um, they're good. It seems like every year. White Sox are new. I think I want to put them Number 4 because of Jackson. That addition is huge. I know John's been a good player too. I'm leaning them 4.
Okay.
And I think we're going to be 5. Like I think we're going to pull out some wins on Monday, and we're going to sneak into the playoffs.
Okay.
From there, it's hard because I know the Rockies are good, but if we're 5th, I mean they almost have to be closer to 7. So I would have the Astros 6, and so then I mentioned the Rockies at 7 and A's at 8, and the Expos at 9.
All right.
I'm pretty confident in the top 2, honestly, and I'm
Yeah.
pretty confident with the last one. But really, with this kind of league, I just think the middle of it, anything can happen.
Yeah.
I mean, there could be 4 teams who are 5-5 just because they're all
Yeah.
beating each other.
Yeah.
But I mean, you look last year, there's a couple teams at the top of it, and a couple 6-4, a couple 5-5, and then the bottom 3 teams. So you never know, how that is going to shake up.
Yeah. Yeah. We talk a lot about, and Sam and I talk about it a lot, but every year it seems like the league gets more and more competitive. And you're right. Those middle teams, anything can happen. And that's what makes the league great and makes it so competitive, because teams get better and some teams get worse, and the things that you don't expect to happen can happen. And, and things bounce, it's a wiffle ball. It's made funny the ball bounces different ways. So, I think you're right in your assessment that those, whatever 6 teams, anything, any of them could come out and win the whole thing too. So, I would agree with that. So, sorry to put you kind of on the spot there, but I was just curious, and I hadn't asked that question yet. So you were the first for me, but was curious on, what your rankings were and how you kind of are viewing the league as a whole. So,
Yeah, no, that's all good. I've been thinking about it. Like I listened to your last couple of captain interviews, or a couple that have been posted, and I think there's a couple of teams that have to be good. Honestly, it's just hard for them not to be. But man, with all of the transition the last couple of years between players and new franchises, like it really seemed to balance out the talent a lot.
yeah.
So that's just kind of how I see it. 6 teams who are going to be really good, and few of them are just kind of going to get screwed.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the way, we're going to go through your rankings here for hitting, pitching, and fielding. And the way that people were viewing you guys were in that same order: hitting 8th, pitching 9th, and fielding 8th. So, when you saw those rankings come out, what, did it just kind of solidify, hey, this is what people think of us, but also we're underrated?
Yeah. So hitting 8th is fair. Like, I think the stats would, I didn't look at every team's stats, compare them to ours, but I would say it probably puts us at 7 or 8th. So, that's a fair, just based on really having 2 proven hitters prior to this year in Sam and Luke. But adding Jordan and just, again, assuming, I get a little bit better, Josh, and, at the plate get a little bit better, we're going to be right there. Pitching, we're just underrated because we don't have that ace, right? Almost every team has a phenomenal pitcher, and we don't have a proven one yet. I mentioned some of the stats with Josh earlier, and he's right there. I mean, their ERA I think was 5, which is just really good. So I just think we're underrated because people don't necessarily know Josh, right? Everyone can see Trent, but no one really knows Trent necessarily. So just having guys who are quieter and younger and newer, we just aren't going to get that hype. And when it comes to fielding, I don't put a lot of stock into that at all, to be honest. Like there's, a Chris Metter is amazing in the field, but how many runs is he worth in the field over like a Luke? I don't know if that necessarily translates to wins.
Mm-hmm.
So with the exception of a couple teams that have, a great fielder, a top 3 fielder, everyone else is pretty competent. I haven't seen a game where it's just yuck in the field, other than some mornings where it's pretty wet and people are slipping and things like that. So
Yeah,
pretty accurately rated just based on our track record, but just some things that I disagree with a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you're not the only team, for sure, to disagree with their rankings. And I think there's a little bit of name bias when it comes to rankings. Sometimes I don't think everybody is looking, like you said, at maybe the stats or the recent recent production from a team or a player. But that's it's all opinion based and it's all about wiffle ball, so it's fun.
Sure.
So let's look at the other divisions real quick, and I'm going to ask you to pick a division winner from each one. Okay.
Okay.
So in the Cardinal Blinds division, you got the Astros, the A's, and the Orioles. Who are you picking out of that one?
I'm picking the Orioles. They got too much talent.
Okay. They also got too much age, but
Maybe. I mean, I know they got John on there, but we'll see how much playing he does. So
yeah. No, they're definitely one of the favorites, especially as a new team. Just on paper, they look really, really strong. So in the corner pub and grill division, you've got the Yankees, the White Sox, and the Expos. So who you taking out of that one?
I'm taking them in that same order. I got the Yankees winning that division.
Okay.
I mean, it sucks that they're losing Jackson, but they're replacing him with Gus. I think they recovered pretty well from that.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely not as big of a loss getting somebody of Gus's caliber on your team for sure. So, and then in your division, go ahead and pick a winner.
I got the Twins win the division. I just think they're too good.
Yeah, they're very good, very consistent. So it's hard to beat them. All right, and then pick the 2 wild card teams.
I think it's going to be the White Sox and the Marlins. I think the White Sox again. I know I'm picking 2 new franchises to make it, but they're mostly formed by existing veterans who are really good.
Yes.
So I think the White Sox will snag that 4 seed, and then we'll be number 5.
All right. It'll be a little bit of a shakeup, but it'll be nice to see a bunch of new teams in the playoffs for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's jump into the unknown, and we're doing a rapid fire edition of this. So I'm just going to read you the question, and then you can give an explanation or just an answer, however you want to do it. Okay.
All right.
All right. What is the final record for the Marlins?
We're going to be 5-5. I think we get in with that. I think we're going to have some tiebreakers.
Yeah, I think 5-5 has made the playoffs the past couple of years, so it is definitely possible to do that. To be 5-5, you'd really have to have a big gap between the top and the bottom for 5-5 to not make it. So, but we'll see. Who is the team MVP for season 20?
I think it's going to be one of our pitchers. I really think it's going to be Trent or Josh, or they're both just going to be our aces, and it's going to be, a shared trophy between them. I think we're going to ride and die with them taking that next step.
Nice. And, Trent is he's uniquely hard to hit against because of how tall and lanky and goofy he is. It's kind of like when Edlow first started pitching, everybody's like, very confused on what was going on. He's just so tall and his release point is different, and it's just different than what we see a lot of times.
Yeah. And if he, just gets a little bit more movement, because I think that's why he was successful last year, is because he's so different. He didn't have necessarily the best stuff. If he's able to just craft, a pitch or 2, he's going to be right there.
Yeah. Favorite 2000 song?
Man. I would have to go with It Ends Tonight, All American Rejects.
All right, nice. That's a good one. Who's going to lead the league in strikeouts as a pitcher in season 20? I'm
going to go with Jackson Crosley.
Jackson, former Cy Young or Cy Wiffle winner. Who is your favorite team to play against?
I think this year it will be the Orioles, having Peter and John in that team. But it's been fun playing the Yankees with Corey Pulley's cousins and Luke's brother being on that team. It just seems like a perfect skivvy wiffle ball game, just with, amongst family members.
For sure. Yeah, that would be one you'd see, after Thanksgiving dinner.
Right, exactly.
Some wiffle ball kind of thing. Where is your favorite place to order lunch from during the season?
Corner pub.
Nice. Hey, shout out.
Got to. It's right there.
Yeah. Who will lead the league in RBIs in season 20?
If Gus Gibby isn't batting leadoff, I'm going to go Gus. I don't know where he plans to hit in the order.
I imagine
But
well, I don't know. Yeah, that's hard to say. I would
because
imagine
if he's
he'll be
been,
put
yeah,
in leadoff, but yeah, with the 4-man lineup though, he's going to get more at bats. So even if he is hitting
yeah,
leadoff, he could still do it.
that is true. I'm gonna stick with Gus no matter
Yeah.
what.
Yeah. All right, you're hosting a movie night for the team. What movie do you show?
Hosting a movie with the team. Remember the Titans,
Ooh, solid.
especially maybe it's Thursday night for the weekend, just getting ready. I mean, that's such a classic movie. I think I'd go with that.
Very good. I would. You guys got to walk into the field doing the song though.
Yep, do the full dance and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, choose one and give up two. Okay.
Okay.
Pool, alcohol, playoffs.
Wow, that's tough. I'll give up the pool because I haven't experienced the pool as a player.
True.
Hasn't been open.
Yeah.
I think I would probably give up booze. I think my teammates might disagree with me on that. But I would give up booze for the playoffs for sure.
All right. There you go. You heard it here first. And who wins the championship in season 20?
I don't know if it's happened, or I think it might have happened once, but I'm going Twins to repeat.
It's probably a good pick, but I don't like it.
No, I think the last maybe 4 or 5, it's been a different winner every
Yeah.
year. Like, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised at all if it's another new winner, like
Yeah.
the Orioles probably. But I can't bet against the Twins at this point.
Yeah. It's been a long time since we've had a back-to-back winner. But on paper, they're a really, really good team too. So, and they have the pedigree to do it, and they've won a lot of championships. So,
Yep, exactly.
awesome. Well, let's kind of wrap this up here real quick. I'm going to thank our sponsors real fast: 1356 Public House, Brex, Reuben Brown, Kenny Night Center, Corner Pub and Grill, Cardinal Blinds and Shutters, Breckenridge Brewery, Logex, High Road Craft Ice Cream, STL Cycle Saloon, Lion's Choice, Sticker Mule, Amp Up Action Park, Andy's Frozen Custard, and Daily Smokehouse. Want to thank you, Eli, for jumping on here and talking some wiffle ball and talking Marlins with me. I'm looking forward to seeing you and all the guys out at the Blur in season 20. Everybody stay tuned. We're going to keep going with the captain interview series here. We've got a fantasy wiffle ball podcast coming, as well as a season preview right before the season. So stay tuned for more content. If you've enjoyed these podcasts, like and subscribe and tell your friends about it. Any final words, Eli?
Looking forward to the season. Season 20 is going to be awesome. We're looking forward to it.
Yeah. Can't wait to see you guys in person. It'll be fun, and we'll have a great time, and we'll play some fun wiffle ball.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Have a good night, man.
Thanks.